Hey guys, this is Dave with the Fight Bananas podcast. Before we go bananas with David Lohsen, coach with Darkwolf MMA, and with the new podcast Submission, let's thank a couple of our sponsors. Warhammer Fightwear. Check them out on warhammerfightwear.com or go to the Amazon app on your phone or tablet or laptop. Put in Warhammer Fightwear and get the gear today. Some of the best gear in mixed martial arts. You can buy it for the ladies, the kids, and also for all the men. Warhammer Fightwear. warhammerfightwear.com. All right, guys, let's go bananas with David Lohsen. All right, guys, here we go on the Fight Bananas hotline. Darkwolf MMA, brand new podcast. The Lohsen family. Here we go. Coach David, how you doing, brother?
Hold on.
All right.
He did that, yeah.
All right. I'm sorry, I turned off light.
Oh, man, this is going to be one for the ages. I love it already.
Yep.
Welcome to the podcast game. What's up, guys? How's it going?
So far it's going good. Yeah, we're definitely brand new to this, but we're enjoying it.
Very cool. Okay, let's kind of start there before we go into the gym and just mixed martial arts as a whole. How did you guys come up with it? Is there a why? Is it just something kind of creative outlet you guys want to get into? How did the idea come to be?
Man, well, so that's like a really deep story. So it's something that's actually been, once YouTube was created a long, long time ago, it's something that we've thought about, YouTube channels and the like. We just never had the time to really get into it. Then we come out to Florida and we started thinking about it. This is about 10 years ago. Started thinking about it even more. And then that's during the time period when I actually discovered that a former training partner of ours from California had started their own podcast, the Inside BJJ podcast. So at that point in time, we were like, man, that's really cool. So we started supporting them, trying to drive traffic to their site and all that fun stuff. And then, slowly we got back into training and then the fight team and everything else. So it got backburnered, really concentrating on growth of the team and everything.
About 3 months ago, Dave goes, we are doing this by the end of the year.
Well, I just got frustrated. I've set so many goals. I got so many irons in the fire, so many ideas. My mind is always popping up with new things, and so I like to consider myself to be a pretty innovative and creative guy, and it usually comes out in the way I teach and the way I train and things of that nature. But my mind's always playing with different things. And finally, I just told Melissa, I'm like, I'm tired of coming up with these ideas. I come up with really great things that other people benefit greatly. And I'm like, I want one for myself.
Right.
Finally, for once, I want one.
I love it. Hey, I do respect you guys so much. Everything we've seen of the gym. I talk to so many promoters and coaches and fighters, and one great thread about you guys, Melissa and David, nothing but the utmost respect. Everyone always has the nicest, most respectful things to say about you and your gym and your team. So that's me. I always want to, surround myself with those kind of people. So I'm like, okay, I definitely got to talk to them. And then, like I said, I saw your, the ad. What was this, Dave? 3-4 weeks ago, maybe. And I was like, oh, I definitely want you on. Christian's been on the show a couple of times. What a big year for him, 2019. Right. Can't wait for him to go into 2020. Kid's got so much damn potential. It's amazing. But yeah, I love the podcast game. It's to me, it's just so much fun. It's a great creative outlet. It's stuff that I get connected with fighters and gyms and promoters. It's just a great way to, keep in the know. And so I was like, as soon as I saw you guys have one, I was like, oh, I love it. I'm not that guy. The podcast, not even 1 inch of a rival. I want to be a partner with you guys. I want to be with you guys. I want to promote you guys. We can all thrive in this. So I'm so excited for you guys to have your own podcast. I really am.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Well, because the biggest part's going to be, our lobby, at least within our own circle, has kind of become, I don't want to say legendary, but I'll say legendary. We have some really incredible minds within even our own gym. And there's times where, we'll finish training And then after everybody's done, we move into the lobby. And some nights we don't even get out of here until almost midnight.
And almost like clockwork, after leaving, we're like, God dang it, somebody should have recorded this.
Right. And that's been going on since we opened. And then with the other thing that we do with Pretty Dangerous, where we travel to different gyms and we do women's open mats and mini seminars and the like, that's kind of taken off pretty good. Those are all free events, everything else.
But so, a lot of exposure to a lot of different martial artists, gyms, gym owners,
right,
fighters, and all that. So we get a lot of opportunity to talk to really interesting people. So we're just going to start bringing the microphone with us and sitting people down for a
well, and so Melissa makes it sound like all that. So it started off. So we've done 50 of these Pretty Dangerous events all over Central and Northern Florida. Okay, I've been at nearly all of them.
Wow. Okay,
nearly all of them. And there's times where I've looked at Melissa and I'm like, I want something to do. I'm like, I go to these events, I follow what we prescribe. The men are not supposed to be on the mats, and we're not supposed to teach and everything else. So I'm there. I take pictures. I look pretty. I sit in the corner.
I support staff during those.
So one of my ideas started was, and to be honest, I mean, I only did like 2 or 3, where when we were at that gym, I figure, I mean, every gym that Pretty Dangerous goes to has donated their gym, donated their time, no cost, no fees, anything. That's one of the stipulations of the whole Pretty Dangerous movement.
Right.
Is everything is free. The gyms donate their time. We donate our time. All the instructors donate their time. So every event is 100% free for anyone that attends. And so I wanted to give a little shout out to some of the gyms that we were going to. And I was like, while you guys are training, maybe I could do an interview with the gym owner and then maybe do a walkthrough, video of their gym so we can kind of give them a little props and everything else. That was one of my original ideas. And I mean, I hate to say I only did like 1 or 2, if that.
Right.
And so then while I'm sitting off on the side looking pretty and, and maybe there's another guy there. And then, so we start talking because they're usually associated with somebody else that's on the mat, and we start talking. And then next thing we know, somebody else, like we just did one at Carlson Gracie in Winter Garden and met a really cool guy, goes by New York because he's from New York. I can't really remember what his full name is, but they call him New York. And afterwards, he just goes, man, he goes, you should record that. So,
right. Wow.
So here we are.
Same thing. Oh yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing here, kind of with Fighting as the origin. Yeah, just same. Usually when you travel, right? When you guys drive to Destin, Florida, for Christian to fight in Island Fights, you guys have some of probably the greatest conversations in that car ride. You guys could be talking about, training. You guys can be talking literally about one fight or one event. You could be talking about a regional scene or the biggest, with George Masvidal versus Nate Diaz. It doesn't matter, right? The content, the fun, the back and forth, the banter is just, it's genius. It's great content. And so same thing. It was just like, wow, we have something here. And now we're, over 120 episodes in, traveled the world already. It's just, it's bananas.
Well, and you guys have had some really great guests. I mean, I remember when you guys, first started, I mean, obviously there's a bunch of the local scene that you guys have really helped to propel to the front. But then I've also seen, man, you guys have had some pretty sizable guests on your, on your guys' podcast. I don't know if ours will ever get to that level. I mean, again, my mind is always spinning so rapidly with other things and other ideas and the like, so I'm hoping that we can keep some of the excitement on this for a while. More than likely, it will probably stay for a little bit of our own internal, discussions with our own group.
Sure.
Yeah, like I said, we've got some, even with the vast experience level, we've got some really great analytical minds and some of the discussions that have popped up.
They go down the rabbit hole a lot.
Well, I mean, like right now, I mean, the big discussion that's been popping up within our fighter chat has been, now that Florida has voted in elbows for amateurs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our group has already had probably a fairly sizable discussion with proponents on all sides of, some who are for the decision, some who are against it. We've already had, I mean, even just today, I mean, we've had some huge discussions just about what the implications of that means, for the team, for us moving forward, and for Florida MMA in general.
Well, okay, real quick there, David. I was about to plug the whole gym and you guys again, but just real quick, I love where you stopped there. Do you guys like it? Yeah, I've had the same thing. I've had multiple people call me, text me, DM me. What's your take on it? I have my take, but I would, you're the guest. You guys are, with the podcast. Do you like amateurs now in Florida to be able to throw elbows? You pro or con?
So I gotta be honest, I'm torn.
Oh, okay.
From a personal standpoint, so when I look at it purely from if a fighter does have a desire to go pro, and granted, we have some people here at the gym that is their goal, and we have some people here at the gym, more than likely they'll probably get a handful of fights, maybe even a couple handful of fights, but to go pro may not be their thing. So definitely, I agree with it was Mitchell that was throwing it out there, saying that he appreciates that they have the choice.
Yeah, Mitchell Chamali.
Right. Now, that part I agree with. But I do believe, though, that there's going to be a lot of pressure for fighters. Some of it's going to be at the last second. Some of it's going to be placed on them by the promoter. Some of it's going to be placed on them by other teams. And the like, that's going to really be a lot of pressure to push people into a rule set that they probably aren't ready for.
Right.
And that's one of my concerns. And we know how this game goes. I mean, we've been to certain things, and we've been on, I hate to say, we've been on both sides of that coin, where you go to an event preparing for an MMA fight, and the opponent doesn't have their blood and eye work. So suddenly an MMA fight's not allowed, and now it's being pushed. Hey, do you want to take a kickboxing match? Well, we didn't train for a kickboxing match, but our fighter sold like 40 tickets, has a bunch of people coming to the venue, and, so at that point they feel a little bit more obligated, and so I know that there's going to be, some pressure that's going to be put on people to, like I said, to take a rule set that they're not prepared for. So I hope, that fighters are strong enough to take a stand, to say, no, I'm not ready for elbows. One, they're not getting paid. I mean, they're amateur fighters.
Right.
So for them to go into the cage and potentially get an injury, we also have thrown our own MMA event. So we also know what it's like to be the promoter who's working with the insurance companies and things of that nature. And for a fighter who's not getting paid to now potentially have to come up with a $500 deductible for medical fees, now to go out and do an amateur event, you now have lost a significant amount of money, to take a fight. And unfortunately, I know the effectiveness of elbows. I know that they can finish fights, but we also know the severity of cuts and other types of injuries that elbows do cause. So I'm kind of torn, in that whole mix.
And on that note, too, amateur is there to help these guys prepare. And we've seen guys step in the cage for their first amateur fight that had no business being in the cage. And to have a rule set.
Well, the rule right now is 3 fights.
Correct.
Right.
So at least they're going to have, they're going to know what it's at least about before they go in.
Agree.
But what's interesting, though, is they're going to allow elbows, but from standing, I can't knee you in the head from a clinch.
Right. And I think we're kind of on the same side. I kind of heard Melissa. I even just heard by her tone. It's it's training on the job, and if any training, male person, a teacher, whatever it is, when you're trained to be a teacher, they don't give you 40 kids in a class right away. Of course, one day you're going to have all 40 kids in the class one day, and we know we're getting to that. But you train into it. I know 3-0, and you know how the game works. You know how kids can be set up to win a couple fights pretty easily. Hey, a promoter almost gave me a win, and we'll talk about that at a later time. You know what I mean? But it's just it's easy for a promoter to manipulate a couple fights, and now someone goes in against a killer that maybe is out of town, that doesn't have a lot of tape on him, and now a couple elbows and massive damage is happening. They're amateurs. There's plenty of time for them to get their butts kicked at professionals and training camps across the world on the daily. It's amazing what these fighters do week in and week out. I admire them. I don't like it. That's my 2 cents. That's just me.
Well, the other question is going to come is once elbows are opened and they're going to start using them in the amateur competition, then you also have to believe that they're going to start training elbows more in the gym as well. So the potential for pre-fight injury and during the fight injuries are going to go up, quite a bit.
I do like that they made it optional. It's not just carte blanche. 3 fights, elbows are legal.
Right. Very true.
But my concern is the pressure that's going to be placed on the fighter by the promoters.
Right.
Because the promoters are going to be looking to push because it makes more exciting fights in their mind. They're going to be selling more from that standpoint. But then it's also going to be pressure from their opposition, from the opponent, and then you're going to get into the bullshit name calling of people saying, "No, fighter, you're a pussy or whatever because you won't take elbows." Right.
Hey, we're talking with David and Melissa, Darkwolf MMA. Check them out at darkwolfmma.com. Definitely visit the gym. Awesome gym, Orange City, Florida. Darkwolf MMA. The Submission Collision podcast. Okay, let's talk more about the podcast a little bit. Who named it?
That's a mouthful, though, isn't it?
It is.
Submission Coalition.
Yes.
That is a mouthful.
I listened to the second one, and that's how you started the show with Naomi. You're like, it's a mouth. There needs a nickname, Subby SC podcast. We got to come up with something.
That was like the 7th take on that intro, too, and he's finally like, this is really hard to say.
Oh, it's here's the best. Here's my, after 5 years of doing it, 2 different podcasts. Now Fighting has over 120. I never retake anything. There's nothing like the original. There's nothing like, hey, it's okay. Laughs. I've had my kids come in on them. It's a part of the game. It's awesome. I have a studio now, so it's really cool. You kind of put the lights off. I got good sounding in there. But yeah, between my wife is 9 months pregnant with twins. I'm doing this in the back of my living room. The kids are in bed.
Wow.
So, hey, anything can happen. You know what I mean? It's a podcast. It's, it's for entertainment. It's for content. That's my thing. 7 takes, I just.
Well, my problem is as Melissa knows, I'm a recovering perfectionist. It's one of those things that's interesting. I never started that way. When I was in high school, I could care less. It was about just doing enough to get by. Now, though, when I do writing or when I'm doing things of that nature, fight prep, it's a different world for me. People. I think I hide a decent amount from the actual fight team itself, but some might say I'm a little OCD when it comes to some of my own stuff, of checking and double checking and making sure that everything's ready. Melissa knows my fight kits when we go to different fights. Man, you'd think we're preparing for an army.
He can literally wrap everybody's hand in the blue corner.
Oh, yeah. And you know that when you're needed more times than not. Am I right or am I right?
Oh yeah, there's been a couple that Dave's done half the corner of their hand wrap.
Absolutely. I even saw what you guys made. One of the posts on Instagram came out today for one. Episode 2 was awesome. Robbie and Naomi. But I saw you guys already had 2, 3, 4 episodes lined up for one. Are those in the can already, or are those just?
No. Those we're prepping for.
Okay. Okay. Cool podcast question. How much time do you guys usually prep so far? I know it's only been 2, and you guys got how much time do you prep for each episode to get information and details and, phone numbers and websites, all that? Or is it just, hey, I'm hitting the record and letting it fly?
Kind of hitting the record and letting it fly. Well, the first one was super easy.
Right.
So we did, at the 50th, we had 5 female black belts there. So we're like, you know what? This is a perfect opportunity. Dave was like, we have to do this as part of the podcast.
Well, with Pretty Dangerous, we've actually done this a decent amount. Pretty Dangerous itself, this is how kind of some of this stuff, dipped our toes into it, where I've been the one more behind the camera and everything else and pushing Melissa forward. Pretty Dangerous has already done a number of interviews at each of the events. That was, kind of part of what started this whole thing. We even did it at Girls and Geese when it was in Las Vegas, where I got Melissa, at the last second. It was all impromptu of just saying, hey, we're at an event that has like 15 different female black belts, everything from world champions to, to just
Felicia O, who's one of the first black belts in the U.S.
Yeah, she's part of the female Dirty Dozen.
Wow.
She was there. So I told Melissa, I said, you know what? I said, we don't get an opportunity like this often. We didn't plan it. I said, you're going to go and you're going to interview every female black belt there and ask them just one simple question.
Yeah.
If you could go back in time and give yourself any piece of advice, what would it be? And then we just spliced it all together. So Pretty Dangerous has already had, I don't know, probably 10 or 15 different videos, interviews that we've done. But in each of those cases, though, we already knew the people that we were going to be interviewing.
Right.
So prep work was easy. It was, it was more, we already knew most of their backstory. We already knew what they kind of had coming up. Same thing when we sat with Robbie and Naomi. Obviously we train with them.
Yeah.
We already know them
Family.
quite a bit as people. Yep. So.
Talking about, okay, so at that event, and this is something we've been covering a lot for the last 2 weeks, and, same thing. I was going to be out there in Vegas for it. Couldn't make the trip in a great way. Like his wife is pregnant with twin girls. It's coming soon. The Quintet Ultra. Quintet, it just seems like it's been on fire lately, these grapple and super fights. To me, this is right up your son's alley. Christian's just, on the mat, bar none. His age and his skill is just, it's incredible. Have you guys been interested, or did you guys even watch it? It was on UFC Fight Pass, Quintet Ultra, the Team UFC, Pride, Strikeforce, WEC was awesome, 5-on-5. Danielle Kelly, Gordon Ryan, there's just so much talent. For one, did you watch the event? If not, is that something that interests you, and is that something you guys would want to get into in the future?
I'll be honest, I watched highlights.
Okay.
Life is so busy.
Yeah.
Same thing, like huge UFC card over the weekend. I'm usually like the big UFC card over the weekend. I'm usually falling asleep by the time the headline's coming on, even if I try to stay awake. And then we usually have fighter training at 9 a.m. the next morning. And unfortunately, we're not smart enough to say, hey, let's just move fighter training. so we usually come in like zombies. So, but no, I love the fact that, grappling in its, I don't want to call it its purest form, but in its submission form itself.
Right.
Is getting highlighted, is getting a bigger stage. And so it really is showing people that there's other avenues where you can stay active, still get your exposure and visibility without necessarily having to do MMA. Right. I mean, I love MMA. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's how we all started in this thing. But I love the fact that submission grappling and the like, is getting more avenues than just a handful of events. The fact that they're popping up more and more,
right,
and the fact that people are watching it,
on a bigger stage.
Getting on a much bigger stage, and the fact that the UFC is now backing, some of these events. Not
there
just
you go.
that like EBI is popping up on Fight Pass, but the fact that the UFC itself is now backing some of these events, because that used to be a big issue. If the UFC contracted you as a fighter, you were forbidden from doing events of this nature. They wanted to make sure that a UFC fighter who was contracted, was. Well, not that they weren't going to get hurt, but if you had a fighter who is making a name for themselves and then they go out and do an event and they lose, that fighter's, just got devalued in the UFC's eyes. They're looking at it from just ticket sales.
Right. And it makes sense. But I love what you said. I'm definitely going to hit on it and harp on it. the UFC is now, they're seeing that there's a avenue. They're seeing that there's eyes and money, and there's a hungriness for submission grappling and super fights and events. So now,
correct.
Yeah, the UFC is starting to back it. The Quintet Ultra, Sakuraba, King Mo, Gilbert Burns, Sean O'Malley, Anthony Smith, they went all in. They put heavy names in there. It was
a who's who
right.
of both current grappling and some of the old guard. It
was an all-star game, and that's what me and Dean Toole talked about it kind of behind the scenes. We've never seen anything like this. You can't have mixed martial arts is the most, violent or dangerous sport of all time. You can't have a Pro Bowl or All-Star game or Major League Baseball All-Star game that all these stars get together and they have fun. But they did it.
Right.
They made it happen. And the horrible thing about it is I heard Melissa say it, and it was so sad. I even had Cub Swanson on the podcast literally 10 days ago. The man tears his knee up, and it's just awful. Yeah. And of course, that's a part of it. They do it in training all the time. The best fighters in the world. Injuries happen. It's just that's one thing our friend Pete White told me, and it's just stuck into my head. It's 3 years ago he said it to me. He goes, Dave, the one thing I can guarantee you that every mixed martial artist will ever have is an injury. That's the one sport that you're guaranteed you will be hurt, you will get hurt, nicks and bruises, surgeries, it's going to happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
And now, to answer your question, I know Christian has said something about being interested in possibly, dipping his toe into some of those possibly this year. I know his focus,
2020.
2020, yeah.
His focus is obviously to get back on the radar for UFC again with some fights. I know he's planning on hitting it pretty hard this year, but he also talked about possibly hitting a grappling event in there as well, one of the bigger name grappling events.
We need some more banana splits in our life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, that was so cool.
I have to admit, though, man, I'm glad that's over. Christian's head got so big, and when he got back, he hit that on every person in the gym.
Multiple times.
Yeah, I'm glad that's kind of.
On me like 3 times, and I thought it was like you. Son of a bitch.
So yeah, I'm kind of glad that we've gotten over that part.
There you go. Wow. So yeah, I guess just real, a little bit more about the podcast or a little bit more about the gym. Naomi Young, a budding superstar in her own. 2020 should be humongous for her. Christian. There's so much great talent in that gym. Orange City, Florida, Darkwolf MMA. If you want,
we have a couple really good up-and-comers. Naomi is one definitely to watch. Jacob Toledo is one to watch.
Yes, I like him.
He was tearing it up last year. We got a couple others. Garrett Schneider had a nasty head kick knockout at our Origin fight. Really nasty head kick knockout. But there's a lot of talent coming up that definitely keep an eye on Darkwolf. We're going to have a big year.
Real quick, guys, that's funny. I didn't even mention it. I thought about it. How did the Origin event, how did you guys, in a way to create a promotion, to create an event, what was the origin, the birth idea behind it? Is it just something to kind of get your fighters a little bit more busy? What made you get on that side of the rope?
So again, talking about how my mind is always going crazy. So even when we were originally on the California side, this is something that we had talked about doing. We talked about throwing our own event. Actually, for a while there, I was working with the California State Athletic Commission. I was trying to become a sanctioned ref before we even had a fight team. And basically, they told me at that point in time that my resume was amazing, but I didn't have enough reffing experience. So, I told them at that point in time, I said, so are you telling me that I need to go work unsanctioned fights? And I was told yes. So the first time we started even contemplating this was actually in California after that event. This was, I got to think what year this would have been, 2007, maybe somewhere in there. So we started actually investigating what it would be on California side to start throwing our own events.
Right.
It kind of spun from there. We didn't really do an MMA event, but we did start throwing our own submission grappling tournaments on the California side. And then that kind of spun into, then I got asked to ref a bunch of other different events.
Yeah. Oh, FYI, on our Foothill Submission Championships, we had the who's who of California MMA fighters come through that tournament. We had, Michael McDonald.
Yeah, Michael McDonald out of Oakdale MMA.
Wow.
We had TJ Dillashaw.
TJ Dillashaw did our tournament. There was a couple others.
The Diaz brothers had quite a few fighters that came through and did.
The Diaz brothers almost got into a fight on our match. With another team.
No, guys, that's just a normal Saturday for the Diaz boys out there in Cali. Come on.
Yeah. Well, but that was, I mean,
that's awesome.
That was one of the parts that was definitely a little bit interesting. I mean, that's us making the move from California out to Florida was definitely nerve-wracking, to say the least. I mean, we picked up everything. I mean, we literally started over when we got here in Florida. I mean, we had fairly good, well-established routes in our area. Coming up through our instructor Eric Shingu at Lodi Stockton. That's the original gym that the Diaz brothers originally started with. We've been with Cesar Gracie through Eric Shingu from day one. We've never left that affiliation. Even coming out to Florida, when we still weren't sure what we were doing, as far as our own personal training and everything else. I mean, we were still repping, Eric Shingu, our instructor, and everything else. So, but ultimately, so the bug was already kind of there. For us to kind of do these things. And then Melissa was trying to get, for her work, she was trying to get a management certification for national. And so we took some business classes, and we had to do a business model. So I chose to do a MMA promotion for my business model, and I did real investigation. I mean, I contacted like the Volusia County Fairgrounds. I talked to the different commissions to find out how much their charges were. Well, I don't know if that played any factor, whatsoever. I'm sure, Christian growing up with us and everything, in some of our discussions, but the bug got into Christian's ear.
There you go.
So shout out to Christian is a rare, very special individual. I don't think you're going to find many people that are like him. That he is phenomenal on the mat. He's probably, in my opinion, as good or if not better of a coach.
Wow.
Origin was actually his first brainchild. We've been talking about it for a while, but Christian was the one that said, I'm going to do it. And so Origin number one, Christian did lock, stock, and barrel. I tried to help out.
Yeah, I can do it myself mode.
But yeah, so
my boys are like that right now. Like they're 7 years old and 2.5 years old, and to get shoes on, it's like I can do it myself, Dad. Okay, boys. Okay.
It doesn't change when they're 23, 24.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he did the first one, and they did all right.
But that's the thing. I mean, Christian, like I said, as a fighter, he's phenomenal. As a coach, he's as good, possibly even better as a coach.
And
as a matchmaker, yeah, I think you're going to be hard pressed to find anybody better than Christian as an actual matchmaker. That's one part of the job that he takes very seriously. For Christian, his pulse on the up and comers and the different gyms they're coming from and everything else. Christian really prided himself and did a phenomenal job. Every matchup was intriguing. There's times where you're looking at it going, I think I already know how this match is going to go. When you look at, the record of one person versus another, I mean, Christian's matchups, the ones that he put together, I mean, they were all phenomenal matchups. When you're looking at them, you're going, wow. I mean, any one of these fights could go either way. They were very evenly matched.
What he struggled with was the marketing aspects and stuff. So for the second one,
I I'm a recovering perfectionist. Christian's on another level.
Employee love. Anyway.
That is no. It's I deal with it. At Fight Bananas. It's really, really hard to get sponsors and sponsorships. It's insane how many DMs and texts and emails and phone calls I make. It takes 80 to get the one yes. And what you're saying about marketing, to get money into sponsors or, to have the Gatorade come in, whatever it is, all that stuff. It's very hard. There's still, it's so weird to say because I feel like we're so into mixed martial arts. We're in the forest, right? We think that's all our whole lives consume of it. I'm just everything I do, talk about, see, listen to, drive, whatever it is. And then I go to Wendy's and I bring up, George Mazadov and Connor. Wow, that could happen July 4th. And people are like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, I guess it's not. It's like it is pretty wild to see. It's rising, which I love. I love MMA going middle class, mainstream, but it's just not there yet.
Right. But it's interesting though, because like the company I work for is based in Ireland. So when Connor was making his first drive towards facing Jose Aldo, everybody in my office that was connected to the corporate office in Ireland wanted to come talk to me. Every single one of them. If they had an Irish accent, they were in my office wanting to talk McGregor Aldo. Right.
And I love, and sometimes they get so polarizing, and I feel like our hearts, we kind of get annoyed with some of these guys. But I've always loved Conor, Brock Lesnar, Ronda Rousey, these names that kind of attract. I want more eyes. I think because if Conor McGregor's on the card and your son Christian's on the card, I'm hoping Christian's paycheck is more people see Christian on the undercard, get the banana split, first time in UFC, and now he gets sponsors. Like, I just think it trickles down, and some people disagree with my statement, and that's fine. It's America. We can agree and disagree. There's a lot of that going on in America right now, but I want the most eyes on all the mixed martial artists. I want more people at Darkwolf MMA. I want more people at Pete White Box, and I want more people selling out Combat Night. This is what we want, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and that's part of the hard part, because like you said, I mean, everybody goes into this game with completely different motivations. They go into it with a completely different ideologies as to how this game gets played. We joke about it in here all the time. We have a certain style, if you will. We're still probably friends with just about everybody that Christian's ever faced. I'm still friends with people that I've competed with back in 1999, and the only reason why we even know each other is through competition. That's been kind of like our MO, because we look at this game and say, which has already happened. We go into a fight and we're going against you today, and tomorrow we're in the same locker room asking each other if I can borrow tape.
Yeah. Right.
So the game, realistically speaking, like you were just saying, it seems like the game is so big. It's so huge. The sport is just blown up until, like you said, you're at Wendy's and it seems like some people just don't even know what's going on. This whole sport, whether you're talking jiu-jitsu or MMA or the like, realistically speaking, there's not a lot of people. So we're going to see the same gyms. We're going to see the same coaches, and we're probably going to see a lot of the same fighters. Some will come and go, but the vast majority, we're going to run into each other at every event. So it doesn't make any sense to me at that point, for people to create enemies. We don't have to hate each other to fight each other.
Right.
That's been kind of our MO. But for some people, that's how they have to get up for the fight. And it's none of it's wrong. It's just that's how they have to get up. They got to feel like you stole their lunch money or whatever, and they're going to take it out on you in the cage. But that's what motivates and drives them. And that's what's weird about this whole thing is, that's probably the one part I don't like so much about some of the modern, trash talk. Is that some of it is fun, and some of it just starts to look like personal attacks, on one fighter to another that goes beyond the cage itself.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that. Yeah. No, there's no reason at all family should ever be brought up. Family members. I feel like the opponents, right? Their game. Hey, you're short. You have no power. Hey, that's part of it,
right,
and all that. But yeah, when it gets too personal, and there's so much drama. 15 minutes inside a cage that you're trying to be blunt, destroy the person in front of you. Sometimes you don't need anything else. Like, that's enough. Like, if the promoter can't sell you on that, purchase a ticket to be entertained, to see an amazing sport between two men or two females. I don't know what else you need. And sometimes, not to say just the UFC, but it seems like the UFC sometimes, there's always layers and layers and layers onto why they are fighting. And sometimes, just give me a cage, put in Max Holloway versus Zabit, and I'm there. I'll be watching.
Right.
Wow. Man, we're over 40 minutes in, and I feel like we didn't even get started yet, guys. This could be
This is my other superpower. We talk about it all the time. If people don't shut me up, we won't get out of here.
No, I love it, man. I appreciate your guys' time. Definitely, I want to give you guys the floor. Definitely plugs. I listened to it today, the Naomi episode 2 on Spotify. Definitely throw out how they can listen to it. Any social media, I know it's on Instagram. Let me check this out real quick. So it's on Instagram, submission_collision. So, throw it out there. The SC podcast. There you go. I just nicknamed it for you. Where can people listen to it, follow it, and let's promote the show.
Yeah, currently right now we're on Spotify. We're also on Anchor, which is the app we're using to record it. And then we're also trying to do some content on YouTube as well. So we do have a YouTube channel. It doesn't have much on it right yet. Actually, I don't think it has anything on it yet.
No, most of what we've done so far has actually been on the Pretty Dangerous channel.
Yes. But we did start the Submission Coalition YouTube channel. We are going to start posting content there.
Okay.
We have a Facebook page, Submission Coalition Facebook page. Dave's actually wanting to also put some technique videos on there, so you might see some cool ninja shit on there pretty soon.
Yeah, Christian was supposed to record one tonight, but he took off.
Man.
And then obviously the Instagram, which is the Submission_Coalition. There's a funny story behind that, but Dave got put in Instagram jail initially.
Like that's the moment I created the first one.
Isn't that the worst? I feel it only.
So we got Submission Coalition as one word, and then we did Submission_Coalition, which I'm surprised, by the way, that those weren't taken already. It seems like right now, everything is gone. Everything that seems to have any real connotation or whatever, it seems like every play on words are already taken. So I'm surprised that Submission Coalition was not already used. So I went ahead and did both. And the Submission Coalition with no space, all one word, I got put in jail. I didn't even put, I think, my first post. But I got put in jail already. So I don't know what I did.
It had to be something religious or with politics, so I'll leave that alone.
I didn't even get to post anything.
That is funny. I think I've been put in Instagram jail twice, and the same thing. I post pictures of promoting the podcast and pictures of my beautiful boys, and I just keep it on a circuit, and then one day I wake up, they're like, nope, you can't go on Instagram for a week. I'm like, what? You know what? Are my kids too damn good looking for you guys? What are you got to try to hold me back? It's
I didn't even know. Yeah, like I was telling myself, like, how do you even know that you're in jail? I didn't even know. So I'm trying to do it, and then it comes up and it says that I'm in jail until like the 16th.
Right.
I'm like, it's 2:00 in the afternoon on the 16th, and I'm still in jail. And it still says I can post on the 16th, and then I look stuff up, and it tells you that if you keep trying to post stuff, that it prolongs your jail.
Yes, that's the same thing. I got the same.
All of this is a learning process for us. You know, we really have no idea what we're doing or
we're just winging it,
or where it's going to go or whatever. Most of the stuff, I'll be honest, you know, I do it for my own kicks. You know, as I tell people, my own humor is so that I can laugh at it. If other people laugh at it, that's fantastic. But
right.
You know, but I do most of what I do because it makes me chuckle.
Yeah.
You know, so that's kind of where this whole thing is kind of going. You know, like I said, who knows where it goes? I mean, the goal, you know, is if at all possible, you know, is to have some fun with it, get a chance maybe to open up some doors to meet some people that I've wanted to have some sit down conversations with for a while.
Right.
Now we're going to put some fun in front of it.
You know, I'm as much a fan of this sport as I am a practitioner, as I am a coach, as I am a gym owner, as I am an entrepreneur. I mean, since day one, I mean, going back to watching the first UFC and finding out that the Shamrocks were literally 10 minutes down the road from us, to finding out shortly thereafter that my instructor was now training under Cesar Gracie. I mean, this whole thing has been almost like a childhood dream from the very, very beginning, you know, but unfortunately I've always been the bridesmaid and never the bride, you know, so, you know, our whole history has always been, you know,
we always called it, it's complicated.
It's complicated. we actually that was almost the name of the podcast, but
Our history is complicated.
Our whole history is complicated.
No, well, that's a whole other show. We're I think you guys are going to be around number 125 here on Fight Finesse. So we're around episode 200 or 180. We'll get you back on. We'll set over 2 hours, and we'll just I want to know about how did California to Florida happen. Favorite fighters, favorite fights. What do you see? Where do you see Christian not in 2020? Where do you see him at 2021? There's so many questions. I had a list. I'm not going to be able to get to half of them, and this is great. I loved it. Really enjoyed talking to you guys. And, I wish nothing but success for you guys. I listened to it. I love it. I love the idea. The history, the stories, the people you're talking to. I think it's going to be great. And if you have fun doing it, it's going to be a success. Period. The end.
That's the whole goal. Now, the only thing I have to get over is I really don't like my own voice, hearing it on recording. It makes me cringe.
Oh my God!
I did theater back in the day before, like in high school and community theater and things of that nature. I can't believe that most people see me as a fairly extroverted person. I'm not. I'm actually fairly introverted. But except when it comes to fights, and I cannot stand watching video of myself or hearing myself. So it's an interesting juxtaposition.
Is it okay? Listen, that's funny you say that too. When it's me, and yes, of course, I do listen to my own podcast. It's amazing when it's just me in the car and I'm driving to Orlando and I'm like, wow, me and King Mo, we had a great conversation. I'm going to listen to it. When it's just me, I can listen to it. But when I have like a friend or family members or even my kids, I'm going to bring them up again for the 9th time. So you think I like them or something. But like my 7-year-old, he goes, Dad, why are we listening to you? Like, he makes fun of me more than I myself. It's funny that when it's just me, I'm okay. But when it's like my wife's like, Dave, you said that? I go, yeah, I did say that, darling. So I'm with you. It's tough, but you'll get over it. I'm telling you, it's after the 120th, it slides off the tip of your tongue.
Yeah. Well, like, I have no issues. I mean, I can do seminars in front of 50 people, 100 people, or whatever. I can teach classes in front of. I can do speaking engagements. I have no issues with things of that nature. I've actually done some fairly sizable. It's just when people want to show me recordings of myself. Even like Melissa tries to record technique videos on any given night so we can put it up for our members, and it even then. It makes me cringe. If they were all standing in the room, and it wouldn't be an issue. But like you said, the video or the it just,
That's awesome. That's so funny. Man, David and Melissa Lohsen, follow them guys on Darkwolf MMA. Follow them on the Submission Coalition podcast. Everywhere you can get it. It is, man. The SE podcast. I'm sorry, the SE podcast.
There you go.
You could download it on Spotify and Anchor. Got to get on the iHeartRadio. It was really cool. I don't know if you guys saw. I had a cool little meeting with them a couple of days ago, and it blew me away. If I can tell you the story real quick, it was. They called me. I'm like, oh crap! I did something wrong. I put every podcast on it, and when you get called into the principal's office, it's usually you did something wrong, and they go,
right.
Hey, how many have you done? And it was like 120, 119. They're like, we just want to let you know our analytics in the last quarter, right? This quarter of the year, you're one of the, trending up, one of the hottest mixed martial arts podcasts we have. That's on the iHeartRadio app or the thing. Right. I was like, wait, am I not getting yelled at? That was my go-to line. I'm like, am I not in trouble here? They're like, no, we want more. We want more content. I'm like, guys, I'm giving you 4 episodes a week. What do you want more? I got kids and a job and everything else. And they're like, hey, if we can maybe get some exclusive stuff or something of that nature. So it's going to be awesome. 2020, super excited here. Same thing with you guys. I cannot wait for your 2020, the gym, the podcast, Christian and Naomi, and so much more. It's going to be awesome.
We're going to have Cesar Gracie out March 28th.
Ooh.
And Christian will be getting his black belt that day.
Wow. March 28th.
Yeah, so March 28th, big seminar with Cesar Gracie. Followed directly by Christian getting his black belt and then a big party at the gym.
Then I get to whip his ass in the gauntlet.
So you're saying that the Fight Bananas crew needs to be there and cover the event. That's what I heard.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. That's very cool. March 28th.
Okay, so here's my plan. I am hoping that the turnout for the Cesar Gracie seminar and everything is so large that Christian's gauntlet has to be in the parking lot.
That would be awesome.
That is my goal.
Hey.
Well, Christian is the hardest whipper of all of the guys on the floor during the gauntlet. So there's a lot of payback.
Yeah, Christian usually goes for blood.
There's a couple one-line jokes there that I will definitely leave alone for another time for another podcast. Oh, my goodness. And I enjoyed it so much. You got a listener in me, and we'll definitely keep spreading the word, and we'll talk to you guys very soon. I had a great time.
Awesome, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome, guys. Have a great night.
Okay, thank you. You too.
Bye. Wow, guys, what a great episode. One of the longest here of the Fight Bananas history. We like to usually keep it in that 20, 30-minute sweet spot, but that was worth it. I loved every second of it. That's just the best. It was just good banter, conversation, funny. Melissa's a diamond in the rough. She had a lot of good one-liners back there. So, guys, make sure to give them tons of love and support. Darkwolf MMA, darkwolfmma.com, the Submission Coalition podcast. Follow them, submission_coalition. Hopefully they don't get back into Instagram jail. That wouldn't be good. But March 28th, you heard it there, guys. That's awesome. Cesar's Gracie, Christian Lohsen getting his black belt. That's phenomenal. I'm putting the date in the calendar right now. Putting it in there, March 28th, 2020, Darkwolf MMA, Orange City, Florida. Guys, the show went so long. You know what it is. Subscribe to the Fight Bananas YouTube page. Download and subscribe on iHeartRadio or any podcast platform. Give all of our sponsors an abundance amount of love. I want to just blow their DMs and their carts up. N-Still Nutrition, buy. Warhammer Fightwear, buy every gear in the business. They have the great. I love the rash guards. The ladies love the leggings. My son's got a beanie. There you go. Come on. Boom. Sold. Fusion CBD products. I use the Instant Freeze every single day. 35 years old. I've been through some wars in myself. I need the freeze. I need the lower back, shoulders, every single day. Fusion CBD products. Check them out at fusioncbdproducts.com. Last but definitely not least, Mako Tech mouthguards. Check them out. So many professional fighters, so many amateur fighters, and anyone. I'm telling you, you can go to the gym just to lose a couple pounds, work out, train, have fun. Make sure you get that mouth guard. Check them out at Mako Tech, TEK, right? _mouth guards. David and Melissa, thank you so much for giving your time. I had a blast. We'll talk to them very soon, and we'll talk to you guys even sooner. Make sure you stay bananas. Have a great day. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend, and definitely tell an enemy.